Welcome everyone to another Hard Enduro. This is called the Silver Kings Hard Enduro and it is located in Kellogg, Idaho. It's actually at a ski resort called Silver Mountain Ski Resort. It's a small little town kind of in the middle of nowhere, but the scenery is pretty awesome. So obviously, since nobody's skiing, they use the ski resort for the dirt bike race. And it's pretty neat because the spectators get to ride the gondola up. The riders get to ride through the town since they label it as a parade. So you got hundreds and hundreds of dirt bikes just rolling through town up to the mountain, to race. This course is also super Colorado-ish. Lots of obviously big mountains, pine trees. There's rivers, streams. You can't see yet, but it rains a ton. There's snow, lots of crazy side hill switchbacks. I mean, this is probably, in my opinion, the gnarliest race of the year. They didn't expect any pros to even make it to the first checkpoint, which is obviously ridiculous. They did end up making it to the first checkpoint and finished an entire lap.
Oh shoot. Dude, he's got Tide bottles for wind protection. Wow. James Flynn, the deer watcher. Look at that deer.
So obviously doing a course walk, you're gonna see a bunch of wildlife. I didn't know what could have been out there, maybe bears and stuff. I don't know, but we saw some deer.
What do you think of that?
I love deer.
James is an aspiring wildlife expert, and speaking of James, we have him here today to do some commentary on his race. He's extremely proud of himself. So without further ado or distraction by my scootering skills, here is James for commentary on the rest of the race.
What's up, guys? It's James Flynn here. Thanks for having me on again, Owen. So, on day one, there was a little bit miscommunication between me and a couple of course workers, and I didn't know that the Funduro was mandatory for start position. So that made for not a very fun Duro time at the beginning of the main race. I started in the back of the pack, or in the back of the pro pack, so I had to make my way through everybody. So basically it was a two-moto format, one hot lap, and then there is a prologue. They called it the Funduro. I did the hot lap, and then I missed the Funduro, so because of that, I was pretty much last place. But it's all good. I took it pretty easy at the start of this race because I thought we were going to be out there for like 8 hours. I actually packed a bunch of food and extra water. I thought I was going to die out there, not going to lie, just the way they were describing it. Luckily that didn't happen. It was a super fun race though, and it was definitely challenging. So the beginning of the race, the first mile or so, a lot of single track and a lot of kind of more flowy stuff. It's kind of like the calm before the storm is how I like to think of it. So at the beginning, obviously, like I said, I was trying to pace myself, but I was also trying to do a little bit of a push because I wanted to get around as many people as I could so I didn't have to deal with them in the hard stuff. But little did I know that would basically not really do anything because you'll see why soon. The pacing at these longer races are always really tough because if you go 100% the whole time, you're more than likely not going to be able to make it for 6 hours, especially when there's a lot of pushing involved. You can have potential cramping or muscle failure. Like a 2-hour race or even a 3 or 3.5 hour race, you can just go 100% the whole time and not even think about it. But now these longer races, it's tough. It's a strategy for sure.
Bro,
So right here, we're arriving to the DMV. We gotta take a number, wait in line. Or actually, no. It was this was actually just one of the first hard sections. Owen sped it up here quite a bit. I was looking around at kind of different ways to possibly go, but I couldn't really find anything. I mean, it was super thick forest. And obviously the hill was super steep too. But I think if there was a spot where you could have maybe potentially had cut a new line, it probably would have been here, because every other spot after this that got bottlenecked up was just so thick. Obviously, if I had raced the Funduro and I didn't start so far back, the bottlenecks and lines wouldn't have been as bad. But it's all good, because it was just at the beginning of the race, so it was no big deal. So right here, we're waiting another line. I was looking around, could not find a spot to go around. I mean, it was just the trees were so thick. If I had like a saw or something, I could have maybe figured something out, but I couldn't. It was just single track. And then in this rock section right here, actually, it opened up a little bit, and then so I was able to pass, I think, 1 or 2 people in this section, luckily. So that was super nice. So I've never been to Romaniacs, but I was talking to a person who has done it before, and they were racing this race. They were telling me that that these sections were a lot like Romania, which is pretty cool. You know, just wet routes and super steep hills and fun switchbacks. Poke your way through. Fun times. I actually thought that the dirt at this race had a ton of traction. It was wet, but I thought it was so good. The dirt was like perfect. The roots and logs and stuff, and even some of the rocks didn't have a whole lot of traction, but the dirt was so prime. Right here is like the first hill that goes under the gondola. And right here I'm going past Owen to the right. He's not filming and he's shaking his head because I'm in 20th place. We thought the day was kind of over at this point, honestly. Luckily we were able to make a redemption though. I really do enjoy rock sections like these. They're like loose, especially going down them. It's kind of like gambling. You don't really know what you're going to get. You can have like a rock, like a huge rock, just totally move underneath you, and the next thing you know, you're tumbling down the mountain. Usually that won't happen though, as long as you don't lock up your brakes or anything and just kind of roll down it. Usually smooth sailing, but yeah, that was a super cool section. So right here, I pretty much know what's coming up. It was the hill underneath the gondola. I saw it the day before when we were going up to the top of the lodge to track walk. So the first part of it was super easy. Unfortunately, that ended pretty soon. So the easiness of this hill ended pretty quickly. You can see at the top right here, there's a line of people waiting. I was gonna cut, but they all yelled at me not to. Looking back, I really just should have, because I ended up passing them all anyways. So we waited for like a solid 20 minutes. One could make the argument that you could have cut your own virgin trail in here. I don't see how that would have been physically possible unless if you had a saw and a shovel to cut in a line. It was super steep and super thick with bushes. I don't see how it would have been doable. It's all good though. It was just the beginning of the race that it was super backed up and bottlenecked like this. Luckily, after all this, the trails opened up quite a bit and there was multiple lines for everything, which I was really, really happy about. But I understand why the beginning of these trails were super one-lined. They didn't have a whole lot of time to cut all these trails in the week leading up to the race because all the snow on the mountain hadn't melted yet. Also, if I had had fun at the Funduro, I wouldn't have to deal with all this because I would have been way further ahead and not behind all these guys. Every time I went to hit one of these logs, I would change my form and technique up to try to get over it clean, but every time my bike would just slide down. I can't say I was able to figure that out. I swear though, I would try different things. I would like weight my outside peg as hard as I could. I would lean the bike out. Nothing ever worked. It would just slide down every time. There is a giant hole to the right of me, and I was doing everything I could to not fall in it. I'm like pushing, but I'm also just like barely using the throttle because I don't want the rear wheel to slide down. I actually didn't end up going in the hole, luckily. And I think that actually saved a lot of energy. But right here you can see it opens up. There's not as many people in the way or anything. I was able to just kind of cruise and just make up as much time as I could. This was a really fun switchback section. It had multiple lines, so I was able to make a couple passes. This is one of those sections where just keep a consistent throttle and weight the pegs and she'll go right up. So this was kind of towards the beginning of the race. I think we were like an hour and a half to 2 hours in, somewhere in that ballpark. But I had gotten my heart rate pretty spiked quite a bit, doing a lot of pushing and holding my breath quite a bit. And I was starting to get a little bit worried that I was going to get fatigued towards the end of the race.
How you doing?
We're holding up.
Having fun?
Yeah.
So this hill right here, a lot of people were really frustrated with it because of how many people were on it, but it was super wide and there was tons of lines and tons of places to go. So you're kind of just able to pick your way through. This is where the A's and the pros merged together. So there was, I swear there was like 500 people on this hill. Not really even exaggerating on that. There was so many people on this hill, just everywhere, but it was like 1,000 feet wide. It looked like freaking Vietnam. Shout out to Destin McCarthy for moving this stick for me. I really appreciate it. So yeah, there was a lot of A riders on this hill. There were some pros too. I think this is where I made most of the passing throughout the race to end up in 10th place. But all the A riders were super cool about letting me by, super patient, and shout out to them for that. I mean, I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, the video doesn't really do justice with how many people were really on this hill. There was a lot, but it's all good though because of how many lines there were. I really did not mind. Shout out to this guy in the Husky right here. He like totally got out of the way for me to hit this line and pass him. I believe he was an A rider, but I really appreciated it. But right here is like a good example. I mean, if you were able to just kind of side hill, you could make passes and kind of flow through pretty smoothly. The grass wasn't super high either, so there was tons of places to go right here. Even the virgin stuff too would go pretty well. So at this moment, I kind of realized that there was still hope left for the race. Before this, I thought it was just in the trash. I thought I was going to get like 20th place. But luckily at this hill, it was a huge confidence booster, and I was able to push harder. So this downhill is liberally steep, I guess would be the best way to put it. I thought it was really cool that they put this in the race. Most promoters wouldn't have the balls to put something like this in a race. But they put it in, and yeah, it was awesome. I walked the whole way down. I would hope that the other racers did too. If they didn't, they're probably suicidal and they should go to some sort of counseling or therapy. But I'm pretty sure that everybody else walked down it because, man, it was scary. I mean, if you, props to you, I guess, if you rode down it. But I wasn't even worried about getting hurt. I was more worried about my bike just tumbling into like the thicker part of the forest and not being able to get it out, which I heard that happen to somebody. You can see right there though, I just kind of dropped my bike. I was in such an awkward spot, and the dirt, it was just really soft dirt. I knew it wasn't going to tumble down, and I knew that dropping it wouldn't hurt it or anything. Maybe a little bit of dirt on the grip, but yeah, no, I think that might have been the best thing to do though. And then right here, we're finally at the bottom of the hill, and then I started dropping in to Milo Creek.
It's Milo Creek!
So this is a very cool creek. Being a Arizona boy, I don't get to ride in flowing water very much, so it's a privilege. But we don't like that right there. That's a wet boot.
That's a wet boot!
Got a little double step right here, and I just butcher it. Nice and good. I'm even pushing. Oh, it's beautiful. Falling. It's great. I'm cleaning everything. I'm like Tony Doe, just keeping my feet in the pegs whole way through this thing. Alright, this was the scariest part of the race, right here. Alright, so it was a big log, and then there was like a 4-foot drop into like a swimming hole, and I like pushed my bike over it because I didn't want to hit that log and just slide down, and then be like freaking so cold head to toe for the rest of the race. That would have sucked. But anyways, here's me pushing and picking my way through bushes and logs and whatnot, falling over. I don't know what I was doing. I was screwing up a lot in this section. I wasn't like getting frustrated or anything. I was just kind of pushing along. But looking back, it was pretty ugly. Got a little going under the log. Gotta love these things. I gotta think of some sort of like form or technique to do that. Get under that thing properly. And there's a slippery side hill that I definitely did my first try. Don't let anybody tell you different. Owen did a super good job right here, really capturing the moment perfectly. There's a rock that fell, and more pushing. Definitely the push count is at like 100 times by now. A lot of pushing going on. A lot of spinach too, like spinning the tire, not like the vegetable. Yeah, so right here it's pretty loosey-goosey dirt right here. Pretty good. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm gonna like kill myself because I thought we were only like a quarter of the way through the race by now. And I really wasn't tired, but I was afraid I was gonna get tired eventually. I never did get tired at all. But anyways, so now here's a rock section that we're going through. These rocks were really slippery. I think it had rained like right before I got to the section, just like slightly. So I'm just like feet off the pegs, just, you know, screwing this thing up. And then Letty over there to the right, he was like, James, what are you doing getting your feet on the peg? At least one foot on the peg. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, what am I doing? And so I got a foot on the peg, and I was actually able to get through it a lot quicker. I don't know what I was thinking. I like try to always have my foot on the peg, or at least like one on the peg, you know, like to weight the peg. But I I wasn't in that section at first, or even prior to it really. But after some mid-race training from Bloody, I was able to remember that for the rest of the race, and it helped me, just a little reminder. Alright, so we're coming out of the woods right now. The check number, I don't know, I lost count. So we gassed up real quick, took some electrolytes, prevent cramping. You know how it goes. We're off again. A course worker told me that from here on out, the course was a lot easier, which I can honestly say it was. It was still super fun though, don't get me wrong. I trusted my life with this rickety wooden bridge, and it held, so I was happy about that. We got some nice pointed up GoPro footage for you right here in this little hill switchbacky section. And then right here I got to see my wonderful mother, and she had informed me that I was in 10th place. I was stoked about that, and so I bombed this rocky hill, and I guess everyone was going to the left. I just went straight up the middle. I guess I'm just a straight up the middle kind of guy. Picking my way through, I would basically just go like as far as I could. I didn't care if my freaking feet were dangling off the bike, if I was, how out of control I was. I would just go as far as I could, crash or get super screwed up or whatever, and then go again. So you can see like right now I had decent momentum. Oh no, I still do, I'm still going. Okay, I stopped. Yeah. This rock section had a ton of traction. It was just obviously super chunky, and the rocks would move pretty significantly. And it definitely was it was tiring. It definitely got my heart rate pretty high. But it was a lot of fun. It was cool. I kept surprising myself by just like how much traction I was able to get on it. You can see in this grassy section, it got a little bit more technical. It wasn't as straightforward, but after this, it was pretty much just all rock all the way to the top, which is pretty cool. It would have been really nice to do it all in one go, but unfortunately, that was not the case. So when I had stopped for half a second on this hill, a spectator told me to go left towards the tree line because that's where everyone was going. I decided to just go straight up it as long as I could, and then I would go towards the tree line, but I was able to just keep going. It was pretty nice. I think I saved a pretty significant amount of time right here. Although I'm pretty sure I held my breath the whole way up because I was pretty winded by the time I got to the top. And then when I got to this rock wall right here, I knew I was probably not going to make it, so I did the old ghost ride. And then I was pretty spent because I held my breath the whole way up. My heart rate was pretty spiked. So right here we got another really fun medium-sized rock hill. We were side-hilled in this one. It was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed this section too. Super fun to like pick your way through and try to hold momentum as long as you could. So right about now I realized that those two little ants over there, that's 8th and 9th place. It might have been a little bit of a confidence booster. I'm not really sure. I was pushing before, so I can't really say that I started pushing harder because I think I was pushing as hard as I could before. But I felt like I got through this rock section fairly quickly. I was happy with how I got through it. I mean, you can see it was pretty chunky. It was kind of never ending too, honestly. So about right now I look down at my watch and see that I'm in like zone 5 and need to like chill out a little bit or else I'm gonna bonk out. So right about at this moment, I see Blake holding this big $1 million camera, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, don't screw up, because the whole world's going to see it, and Blake will 1000% use that footage because he loves that shit. I definitely significantly screwed this hill up. I could have done it way faster. Yeah, I did not do this hill very well. I definitely screwed it up pretty significantly, but you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So I didn't actually end up catching 8th or 9th place, and this hill might actually have something to do with that. I didn't make any crazy mistakes or anything on it. It just took me a while. I don't really know why. I just kept getting stuck and things like that. But yeah.
What am I in? 10th place.
Little fun 3rd gear hill climb right here for ya. So right about now I realized that we're kind of heading back towards the finish actually. And I was rather surprised, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to take a lot longer than that.
Thank you.
So right around here is when the GoPro died, and now we just have Owen's 3rd-person camera to rely on. I think if I had maybe downshifted in a second right there, I could have gotten a little farther, but hindsight's 20/20, I guess. At this point, I realize that I am within the last couple minutes of the race, and so I'm just doing everything I possibly can to maybe gain another position. And here's the mic back to Owen for the outro.
So after the race, we were on the way down, and James was like, dude, I want to jump in this river. And I was like, all right, dude, I don't think you'll do it, but I'll record it. And I'm not kidding, that water was super freezing, and he almost gets swept away. I mean, you can see those rapids. He was just in a mild eddy, but that would have been a funny way to die. And I don't know what's wrong with James, but every time after the race, he's like, dude, I want to go on a ride. He rides his mountain bike, he goes on a dirt bike ride. And after this, we ended up going to a pump track, and he wanted to ride that. And then the next day, he's like, dude, there's a downhill park right here. I want to ride this. I don't understand it. I'm on the mountain running around like an idiot, and I'm exhausted. He just wants to keep riding the damn dirt bike. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, we're heading right now to Tough Like Roar in Pennsylvania. So if you even know what James looks like or myself, come say hello. Yeah, well, we will see you then. Stay tuned for the next video.
Yeah, boy.